Hello there. I said hello there. Hello there, Leicester. How are you doing on this beautiful day? Hello, Leicester. I'm Andrew Friedman. Welcome on, everybody.
Thank you, Andrew.
Hello there. It's great to see so many of you here. Please excuse well, I've not really done this before, so I'm just going to tell you a story. Unfortunately, it's a true story, but fortunately, I'm here to tell the tale. My name's Friedman, and I have epilepsy, and I've had this since I was a child, and I've taken medication for about 30 years, and I'm generally fit and active. I don't consider myself to have a disability, and I'd like to, well, I have epilepsy. People don't talk about it very much. Anyway, I met Tim, he's over there. We fell in love. We wanted to have a child. And I spoke to my neurologist, who didn't have any major concerns about me taking Epilim, which is an anticonvulsant drug. He didn't have any concerns as birth defects were considered very rare. And I became pregnant. Andy was premature and was in intensive care for 3 weeks. At 9 months, he wasn't giving eye contact or babbling. At 1.5, he wasn't rolling, sitting or crawling. He didn't take his first steps until he was 2.5. The dreams I had as a parent of playing football, teaching him to ride a bike, painting, playing and performing music, it all just started slipping away. The dreams I had of returning to work, setting up an internet and music cafe, ended. The reality that my child Andy was disabled and always would be set in. He couldn't take part in clubs because it wasn't safe. He has no concept of danger and can't process more than 3 instructions. He doesn't have age-appropriate communication skills, so he finds it very difficult to make friends. I'm getting a little bit nervous now. I became a single parent, and I couldn't cope with his condition, and I was prescribed antidepressants, and Andy was diagnosed with fetal valproate syndrome. Now, fetal valproate syndrome, or fetal anticonvulsant syndrome, is caused when the fetus is exposed to sodium valproate in the womb. This is the drug that is used to treat epilepsy and also to treat mental health conditions. I took it to control epilepsy, and it had injured my child. I didn't want to bring another child into this world with the problems that Andy was going to have, so I got sterilised. This has obviously been quite an emotional time. Andy's grandma saw an article in the Times about the condition and that there was a class action being brought together to sue Sanofi, the drug company that manufacture Epilim. Tim registered Andy and a legal aid certificate was granted, and Andy was chosen to be a test case. The Legal Services Commission wanted to withdraw funding in 2007, but the decision was overruled in a judicial review. Funding was reinstated. Andy was going to be able to hold somebody accountable for the injuries that he had incurred. He was going to get justice. And that made me feel pleased that me and his dad were able to provide that for him, and that the country was going to be behind him pursuing a multinational pharmaceutical company for the damage that they had caused to my son through not advertising the safety data, not publicising the fact that these medications cause such dangers. Thank you, Tony. So in summary, Andy's been trying to sue this drug company now for 6 years. He's disabled for life and will never live independently. The cost to the taxpayer, by the time he dies, assuming that he lives to the age of 50, will be £10 million, just for one child. He'll probably never contribute towards the tax system. And we, the taxpayer, you out there, will continue to support him. Now, legal aid was withdrawn in October 2010, just 3 weeks before the trial was due to start. The appeals to the Legal Services Commission have failed. The funding for a judicial review has been denied, and I and my son cannot afford to pay for the trial or for a judicial review so that Andy can have the opportunity to hold somebody accountable for these lifelong injuries incurred. My MP and MEP have been supportive, but Parliament has been unable to do anything about it. I'm a little bit sceptical. If we can go and bomb Libya, then I'm pretty sure that we can overrule a decision by the Legal Services Commission. My MEP has been supportive but says that it's nothing to do with Europe. But I believe that Andy's rights and his human rights to hold somebody accountable for the injuries incurred have been violated. And the European Union has not protected him. The European Union has not made sure that we in this country have a Consumer Protection Act that protects us as consumers against pharmaceutical products. The Legal Services Commission have said in all of their appeals that it's not good use of taxpayer money. But if you as taxpayers are going to pay £10 million for my son, surely the gamble should be made to pay £750,000 for 100 of these children to go to court and to have their claim heard. These 100 children, if each of them cost £10 million, that's £1 billion that we as taxpayers are paying because of the errors made by a pharmaceutical company in not publicising the damaging effects of these medications. I'd like to say a huge thank you to Leicestershire Services, Social Services, University Hospitals Leicester, Primary Care Trust, Leicester Education Authority, the Red Cross, the Sea Community Centre, Sparkenhoe Community Primary School, Avenue Primary School, Westgate Special School, the Early Years Preschool Teaching Team, physiotherapists, audiologists, speech therapists, consultants, geneticists. These are the people that I've had to deal with, to communicate with for the past 12 years, and that will continue. And I'd like to say thank you to all of you people who work for those organisations, for those public sector groups. It breaks my heart that some of these services are being cut. It breaks my heart that some of you people out there are going to be made redundant. And I would just like to say a huge thank you for your caring support and your professionalism and your dedication to your job. And you public sector people just do such a wonderful job. I'd also like to say a big thank you to the police who have supervised this rally, supervised the rally down in London, and they're having their pensions cut in a similar way to the teachers and the lecturers are, and yet they're not allowed to protest. I've got a few ideas. I'm going to wrap this up, but I've got a few ideas, and I hope that our new Mayor of Leicester will support me in them. I'd like companies that produce products that harm us and result in cost to the taxpayer. I'd like them to be pressured to fulfil their corporate social responsibility. I will be pursuing Sanofi for money for Leicestershire services that people with fetal valproate syndrome use. I hope that you'll be able to support me in some of this. I'll be pushing for changes in the Consumer Protection Act so that the law in relation to defective pharmaceutical products cannot be interpreted in two radically different ways. If the law was tightened, Andy would be able to start the trial and he would get funding. And maybe Leicestershire would have a decent payout of £3–4 million for our services, to save our services here in Leicester. I'll be having to seek a power of attorney, independent of Sanofi, the drug company, but financed by them, in the event that there was no one in my absence to represent his best interests. What happens when I die? What happens if he gets into trouble and has nobody to represent him? What happens if he doesn't understand how to fill his benefit claims forms in? What happens if he gets abused? Will he know that he's being abused? What will happen to his housing? Will he be put into sort of supported housing and then that will be gradually cut? So I'd like to pursue Sanofi to be funding and financing these things. I have a suggestion that if the drug companies that produce these medications were to give our university hospitals and primary care trusts free drugs for 1 day a month for 30 months. That's the number of years this drug's been on the market. I think we'd get a bit of money back. I'd also like Sanofi to provide some IT equipment for our special schools and special education needs departments. iPads, Wii's, laptops, and install safe networks to run the equipment on. I'd like these drug companies to run fetal anticonvulsant syndrome awareness weeks, because there's new research that shows that 2 in every 5 children born to mothers who take Epilim during pregnancy have a birth defect. 39.6%. Now here in Leicester, 1 in 200 of us has epilepsy. So 2 in 5 of the women who are taking this drug will have a child with birth defects. And I just want to make sure that we stop these children being born into the world, because it's not fair on them. It's not fair to bring somebody in the world and not provide the services that they need. I would like to thank all of you today for listening to me. Andy's case is due to close next Friday, 6th of May. I don't think we're going to get any press coverage because the elections will have been on, and because analysis in the news will all be about the referendum, the councils, the implications for the coalition, etc. But I'd like to thank you all for your interest. If you want to know anything more about the condition, please visit the website, Organisation for Anticonvulsant Syndrome. I've got my banner over there. If you'd like to contact me, my name's Emma Friedman. I'm on Twitter, Facebook, and also have a webpage, emmafriedman.com. I'd like to thank you all again very much today, and have a wonderful day. Thank you.